Hello, it's the 5th of August 2018 and Labor Day is coming up, and this is the greatest crisis facing humanity. This is what the elites have been hiding, and they've been planning this and working towards this day for what, Jane, 150, 200 years?
Oh, probably longer.
Standing on my lawn, I began to ask myself, why is the ground getting warmer every year?
And you being a forester, you have this natural curiosity.
Especially in hydrology. And I asked the question, why is the ground temperature rising all across the planet? And lo and behold, the ground temperature is rising. There's quite a few reasons for this. Number one, in 1993, the sun started burning more helium than hydrogen and began to turn white and get hotter, get a little larger. We're going through a stage. This isn't a... And we're getting more sunspots. We all saw that the other day. As water gets pumped out of the ground, there's nothing to hold the heat anymore. So as the water levels go down, the heat level on the surface rises. So as the sun gets hotter, the surface of the Earth gets hotter, which is why the oceans have risen about this much in probably, 100 years, Jane? Since 1880 till today, about 10 inches. Not a lot of rising. But when you add the acid rain, which is well planned, the oil, the coal, when you add the acid rain, the calcium is what holds the soil in place. Without the calcium, it turns into kind of like melting ice cream. All the air bubbles disappear and the soil sinks. So we've got chemtrails, we've got the burning of oil, the sun getting hotter, the oceans rising, the acid rain, and then we've got the chemtrails blocking all of the rain from hitting many of the coastal regions, which is causing the cities, the groundwater dries and it sinks. So a lot of the cities are beginning to sink, like Miami. So President Trump, one of the reasons President Trump is trying to get rid of these idiot liberals, the Democrats, I call them. One of the reasons he's trying to get rid of the Democrats is because we're going to have 100 million Americans potentially as crisis refugees as they leave their cities. Plus, these chemtrails are causing microstorms. So the areas from coast to coast, from the west coast to the east coast, the two left coasts are being pummeled by storms. Homes are being destroyed. Buildings are being destroyed. And the insurance companies are saying, neener, neener, neener. Basically, what more can I say? So Flint, Michigan is a sideshow. 3 years in Flint, Michigan, and not one dime was spent to improve the water. They could have run a pipeline right out in the middle of the Great Lakes and sucked that water, but they didn't do it. That's a sideshow. All these politics are sideshows. Sorry about the squeaking. And then we've got fracking. So as the groundwater levels go down, the oil companies are pumping benzene into the water to destroy the water. There's a gal on YouTube that lit her water on fire and then was arrested for showing this. Yeah, you know what? That was so wrong. But what they're doing is the oil companies are sucking the oil out, causing the ground to sink. Then they're taking some of this and pumping it back into the ground to distribute it throughout what groundwater level is left. When our ancestors came across in wagon trains, the Indians would go to a low spot, dig 3 feet, and they could get water. The white man carried their water. They didn't know this. Now the groundwater level is anywhere from 50 to 300 feet deep. That means that it's nothing but sand on top, sand and loam. And it dries out, so the trees are drying out. And then the chemtrails, they add aluminum and other chemicals to defoliate our trees to create fires. So we've got a surface level that has no water and the trees are drying out. This is why we're getting massive fires. I know we used to have ground fires 150, 200 years ago. I've been involved in broadcast burns and wildfires. I've seen all of this. What's happening, the most important thing that's happening now because of this is worldwide food production is beginning to fall, and there are water shortages all over the world, especially in areas where they're removing the white farmers because they have 150 to 200 foot wells. And they're bringing the water up for not only their farms, but the towns. And as they push those farmers out, who's got the money to replace a 200-foot casing? So the people are going to have to move into the cities. And the cities are primarily on the coast. And that weight, combined with the acid rain, is pushing the soil down. And as the ocean rises, the cities are beginning to flood. This has been planned, 150, 200 years ago, Jane? The addition of the acid rain, the addition of the chemtrails, it's been planned for a long time. So what we're looking at is potentially within 5 years, maybe 15, 20 million Americans leaving the coastal cities as they're obliterated on the west coast and the east coast by storms coming in, and as the cities sink because the acid rain eliminates these little bubbles. We're seeing massive landslides all over the country because the acid rain has washed out the calcium. Calcium is what cement's made out of. You wash out the calcium, the soil becomes melting ice cream. So we've got all those homes washing into the ocean. Thousands of them, all up and down the coast. If they used the formula in the cure for tree diseases, their soil would not slide. But it's happening. This is why Amtrak's is being delayed. All of the lines are owned by the George Soros NGO. Now, George Soros is dead. They have number 2 in there. He's run by Melvin Rothschilds. All the Amtrak lines are owned basically by Melvin Rothschild. And they're beginning to slide now across the tracks, so our rail systems are failing. Many of our road systems are failing. They're just washing into the ocean. Or, I mean, the hillsides are just washing into the roads, or maybe the road along the creek side is washing out. That's all being caused by primarily acid rain. Before the acid rain really started to hit in the 70s and 80s when we did forestry, we didn't have to worry about it, but now we're seeing it worldwide. Almost no rain, and the hillsides are washing away. So what's the solution? What can we do as a nation? The first thing we need to do is realize there's a problem. As we have 15 to 20 million refugees coming into the country, and we build the wall to keep 800 million refugees from around the world from coming into America. By the way, Canada's doing that right now. They're pushing the immigrants out. Every country in the world is doing it but ours. It's because we've got a bunch of idiot liberals trying to destroy America. They must destroy America first. They must destroy freedom in order to destroy the planet. So what can we do? Well, the first thing we can do is eliminate welfare and the education budget. Shut all the public schools down. Just shut them down. Use that money to do the following. Well, let the parents educate the kids. Get rid of the broadcasting networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN. You cannot negotiate with evil. You simply have to terminate their broadcasting contracts. You cannot make Disney into something it's not. Walt Disney was the Black Witch of LA. You cannot turn Disney into something good. You have to eliminate their ability to broadcast. Then you need other TV stations to re-educate us, to teach us the truth. We need to build at least 1 million step-down dams across this country. What that means is as the creek flows, you catch half of the water going through it and create power through that. Then you can use that water coming into here to divert it and pump it into the groundwater to bring the groundwater levels back up. That's what's happening with wheat production. As the ground heats up, they're dumping more and more and more water on wheat and corn and potatoes and everything else. And what's happening is, as they're dumping more water because the ground is getting hotter and hotter, they're having to use more water. The ground level's getting deeper and deeper until we reach a point where the groundwater is unusable. Massive agricultural collapse, which is happening now across the world. All across the world, we're seeing massive agricultural collapse. Trade Genius knows when and where. And when we're done with this, you're going to be very glad that we work with Noble Gold, because you're going to know that this paper money we're using is not going to be worth very much. So we like the silver and gold that Noble Gold sells. Massive re-education in our public schools. Massive shutting down of the liberal media. You cannot turn something bad into something good. You have to start all over again. Fire those reporters and arrest them. There's going to have to be about 20,000 arrests of those who are treasonous, or this planet will not survive. The survival of this planet rests on President Trump's shoulders, which is why we pray for his safety. President Putin, number 3, he doesn't run Russia. His staff does. But they're not doing what God says either. They're going to have to come in with this. They're going to have to shoot down the planes creating chemical trails. They're literally going to have to shoot these planes down, and they're going to have to convert, or immediately convert all of the planes to spraying what we talked about in the cure for tree diseases. That formula will rejuvenate planet Earth. The oceans are dying. Divert the water that's flowing into the oceans and divert it into the groundwater so we can have agricultural products. Where there's going to be mass die-off, there's not going to be any water left to harvest this. And as these people move away from the cities, they're going to want to move into places like farms. Less farmland. We're going to need to build what America's Third Party talked about, massive numbers of seawater pipelines, which is a plastic dome with troughs on the end. You bring the salt water up, and then you bring the salt water back. And as it evaporates, it forms troughs of water. We're going to have to do massive desalination to recharge the aquifers, or we're going to see billions die off. We're going to have to release a technology like the P-51 aircraft motor that was built in 1941 that runs on water. We're going to have to release that. We're going to have to take care of the elites, either put them somewhere where they can't bother anybody or kill them. One of the two, or humanity's done. There are no other options. The groundwater is done. That's why you're watering your lawn more and more and more, and it's not turning green because it's hotter and hotter, and it just evaporates. And then we're going to have to eliminate 5G, 4G, and 3G because these not only dry out the trees, they're killing humans. So when you start broadcasting at 24 gigahertz, you fry people's brains, you fry the trees. And as you fry the trees, there was a famous study where they cut down all the trees and the rain stopped. Then they planted trees and the rain began. Then they cut down the trees and the rain stopped. Then they continued the study. When you kill the trees, the rain stops. Period. You're going to have a massive tree planting campaign nationwide, and you're going to have to be able to water these trees and bring the groundwater level up and destroy the plains, stopping the rain. Change the formula they're using. There's no time left. There's absolutely no time left to do this. These microstorms that are being created by the chemtrails are going to literally start killing huge numbers of people. Jane, do you have anything to add? I mean, you walk out on the lawn. I water it, what, 2-3 hours? And it's like I watered it for 15 minutes 20 years ago.
Yeah.
The groundwater level goes down. The soil gets hotter because the sun's getting hotter. And we water, and you saw the burning on the plants. I mean, our plants are being burned from the sun. They're sitting in a bucket of water, and the leaves are getting burned. And there's a surfactant. There's soap in there. So it's drawing water up as fast as it can. And the leaves are still getting burned. And this is happening worldwide. So either we come together as a planet, Russia, China, you stop the earth. China, I tell you what, China's gone out on a limb. Their economy's collapsing. They're killing millions of people because they believe in a God. The Chinese system will simply collapse. I don't know where else to go with this, Jane, except we're going to have to change the way of thinking. President Trump is going to have to do some very unpopular things, or we're going to see billions die off very soon. And he has to lead the way because little Trudeau in Canada was born a girl. All he's worried about is whether he looks like a man and his eyelashes don't fall off. I mean, we're going to have some real men step up to the plate. Russia's going to have to step up to the plate. Germany, Angela Merkel, she was Adolf Hitler's daughter. She's not going to step up to the plate. England's not stepping up to the plate. They just monetize their pound. It's falling apart over there. We're going to have some major countries step up to the plate. The only one in this world who's capable right now is President Trump and probably the leader of Mongolia. They're capable, they just don't have any money in Mongolia, and they don't have access to water. Anyway, Jane, you have any final comments?
Well, the thing that the elites fear the most is the people coming together. They want disruption, disputes. They want anger in the streets, division. People come together, they're done for.
Yeah, that's what Lawrence, the fallen angel, said at the United Nations. Once we come together, they're done for. So please pray that President Trump is safe and that he can conduct all these activities and that he brings in a man into the White House who understands what is going on ecologically and hydrologically, who he can trust. And that's the key. There's darn few hydrologists and those with an ecological background that he can, and a political background. Those don't mix. Forestry and politics do not mix. I think I'm the only forester on the planet who ever got into politics. So, God bless. Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming. Pray for President Trump's safety. Pray that he can do these things before it's too late. God bless. Miami's already having huge, massive flooding problems, and that's only the beginning. God bless. Thank you very much. And you know what? You're the best audience, the most active audience, and your prayers are changing the world. Cannot emphasize that enough. We don't mean to offend anybody. We don't mean to harass anybody on this video, but we do mean to tell the truth so this planet doesn't end up looking like Mars. God bless. Thank you very much, and you have a wonderful day.